Welcome to Geography Review. I'm your host, Jane Jennings, and today we will be discussing on the country of Singapore. I'm not allowed to give my opinion, but I think you should get ready because we're about to Singapore you. Singapore is officially known as the Republic of Singapore, which is located at Southeast Asia. Its population lies at around 5.87 million people and is filled with many people that are multiracial and multicultural. These people consist of 76% ethnic Chinese, 15% Malays, and 7% of Indians, and while the other 2% consist of foreigners such as Caucasians and Mongolians. Buddhism is the top religion of the country with around 33%, followed by Christianity by 18.7%, Taoism and folk religion by 11%.
Singapore is a small, urbanized city-state in Southeast Asia, located at the end of the Malayan Peninsula between Malaysia and Indonesia. Singapore has a total land area of 278.6 square miles, making it the 192nd largest country in the world. Singapore is made up of a mainland and very small separate islands. The mainland of Singapore is 31 miles from east to west and 17 miles from north to south, and has a coastline of 120 miles. Singapore is an almost diamond-shaped island, although it is also made up of many smaller islands surrounding it. Most of Singapore is no more than 15 meters above sea level, however it is not located near any fault lines, making it a relatively low recipient of most natural disasters. The highest point in Singapore is Bukit Timah Hill, with a height of a mere 538 feet. In comparison, the highest point in California is Mount Whitney, at 14,505 feet. A very hilly landscape is found in the northwest, as the eastern region is mainly flat. Singapore has no naturally occurring lakes, but has several man-made reservoirs. Some places of interest in Singapore include the Marina Bay Sands, the Sentosa Beach, the Gardens by the Bay, and the Universal Studios Singapore. But the most interesting part of any country is its people, which brings us to demographics. I don't know if you want to use that end or not, but like...
Singapore today maintains diplomatic relations with 189 countries. However, it does not have a high commission or embassy in most of these countries. It is a member of the United Nations, the Commonwealth, and the ASEAN, and the non-alignment movement. Being part of the non-alignment movement, this makes Singapore somewhat unique as it didn't choose any sides in this Cold War. One of Singapore's best friends would have to be Israel. Both countries established diplomatic relations in May 1969. Israel also have an embassy in Singapore. In 1966, Israeli military advisors came to Singapore to help train its military, and Israel also supplied Singapore with military equipment. Singapore was also one of the 41 countries that abstained from voting on the Resolution 67/19 on status on Palestine in the United Nations by the United Nations General Assembly on 29th of November 2012, which granted non-observer state status to Palestine. Today, the two share many trade relations.
Did you say Israeli?
Singapore is also similar to flags of many other nations in that it represents that nation's ideas. This flag of Singapore holds that country's ideas true. The flag has been used in the country since 1959 when the old flag was replaced. The flag of Singapore consists of two horizontal halves above white. The red on the flag is supposed to represent the equality and brotherhood that all men share. The white is supposed to symbolize purity and virtue of men in Singapore. The 5 stars stand for the ideas in democracy, peace, progress, justice, and equality in the country. The flag of Singapore is not supposed to be held without great respect. For example, it cannot be used for private purposes in private events, or it cannot be commercialized or wear. A flag plays a big part in Singapore's national pride.
Singapore and China have agreed to a substantial program to deepen military ties after a Wednesday meeting between the two countries' defense chiefs. As we all know, China is inherently opposed to the US in terms of ideology and practice, and any country who sides with China militarily is going against the United States. Among the proposed enhancements to an existing defense cooperation agreement is a second bilateral naval drill to be held next year, after the countries had a similar drill in 2015. These exercises are significant given that few other Southeast Asian countries, especially those maintaining strong security ties with the US, such as Singapore, engage with China's Navy on a bilateral basis. This is a statement from Singapore saying they're in favor of the Chinese and against the US, which makes them stand out.
Today, Singapore strives to be the world's greenest city. It is seen to be one of the leading nations in the environment protection, with a great view of the area to be seen with zero pollution whatsoever. 1/4 of the area is filled with lush green forest to house many of the creatures of the wild. But due to major issues of illegal logging and mining, it forces the country to enable some ideas. To fix these issues, Singapore enforces many regulations and have strict punishments for those who are caught doing illegal activity. This way, any people caught doing illegal logging or mining would be taken down and would make the country a more greener place. In Singapore, 20% of the population is being robbed by scammers using social media apps in the country. People in Singapore lose many of their credit card details, social security numbers, and more. This has led to a combined loss of $57.9 million, the biggest amount to online scams. Mr. Gregory Vijayendran, president of the Law Society of Singapore, highlighted the incident yesterday to remind members of the publics of cyber attacks involving legal transactions. He said clients should always verify with their lawyer before effecting payments in the event that they receive email requests for fund transfers from the solicitor.